teachers in Napa public schools, and that's how we met, and gradually found that we had a common interest in wine, and of course we decided that we should get married and make a life together, and came looking for this place.
We didn't exactly decide to start a vineyard. We were homemade winemakers when we were looking for a house to buy. Eventually, we wound up talking to a relative who was a real estate agent in St Helena, and she said, well, gosh, you know, it's probably more land than you guys want, but it's a real pretty piece of property.
And once we saw it, we were hooked. We did plant the grapes, and we have gradually sold the grapes or made wine from them ourselves, and here we are. The grapes we grew, we sold first to other home winemakers, and then finally to commercial wineries, which is what we do now. The reason we're not making wine anymore is simply because I've become too lazy to do it. We only ever made very small amounts, never anywhere near all of the grapes that we had once we got the grape planting done. So we always had to sell to home winemakers or whatever once we started growing the grapes. We did it for years, starting in 1972, then missed a year or two, and then went back to it for a year or two, and now we've missed the last 3 or 4 years, and it just seems that that's the way it is. This bottle we have right here is a bottle of Mill Creek Vineyard 1998 Cabernet Sauvignon.
Mill Creek Vineyard is a commercial name for our vineyard operation.
That's already an 8-year-old wine, and it's the last one that we finished and bottled as a home winemaker. If there's a downside to living here, it isn't this place or anything about this particular place. It's just that we live in an area which has become so gentrified and so tourist-oriented and such a high cost of living and these kinds of things that we realize that it's only because we were able to get in here back in about 1970 or 71 when we could afford to buy some land and so on that we can do it. And people can't come to this area now and make a home here unless they already have a lot of money from somewhere else. For most of the history of grape growing and winemaking in the Napa Valley, it was all done locally. It was done by ordinary, everyday folks making a living off of it, and they would grow the grapes and sell them to the wineries, and the wineries would make their wine, and it would be distributed for the most part around in the general area of Northern California here. It was very much a rural environment here, and very much an old-fashioned kind of farming and home, little old winemaker kind of operations, very much so. And the price of the grapes, the price of the wine, the technology that people put into the whole process, including the grape growing and the winemaking and so on, it just turned it into a completely different thing. And there are very few small growers, individual growers anymore, who just grow grapes and sell them and make a living that way. I'll bet there are very few in this whole area, or anywhere probably in the California wine industry, really.
Times have definitely changed. Main Street in St Helena has become somewhat like Main Street in Disneyland now. Yeah, a lot of the shops cater more to tourists than they do local people. Used to be that local people could actually shop along Main Street a lot more than they can now.
We love living here. There is no doubt of that, and we have been in love with this place since we first saw it. We have, made our lives here for 30-some years. I don't believe we would consider going anywhere else. I really don't. I mean, this is home to us, and we expect to live our lives out right here.